So, yeah, um, I do have Discord running, so if people pop in and it gets loud, I'll just stuff in quickly for the rest of the video. But, it's been a minute since I just talked and rambled at a screen and made notes. And by a minute, I mean more or less a week, but I have been studying for my tests and things. So I haven't just not been working on things, but, I did want to show um, more or less what I've been talking about, and this does relate to the brief thesis moving forward, right, which was the kickoff to this entire series. But what we are both currently looking at right now is the individual holding screen for SPLG, and you can see that the portfolio diversity has jumped immensely from where it began and has approached 73.15% of the portfolio. And eventually, the portfolio will be essentially only correlated to this ETF for a time. But I did want to make special note of that percentage because that means that the portfolio is behaving much more like this particular holding than it is any other holding in the portfolio. And um, I can demonstrate that by showing the portfolio, and we run the 1 month view, and the longer that it has gone on, the more it has begun to behave similarly. And these are both over the 1 month time frame because it has been more or less a complete month since the beginning of all this, right? That's the 3 month, but it has more or less been a month since I started tracking individually, right? I did need to spread out everything into a base to more or less help myself remember exactly what I wanted to do here. But these ETFs are headlining individual securities that I want to talk about later for a variety of different reasons. But I do want to show that the portfolio today looks like this, and its primary holding looks like this. And it's not a mistake. I kept saying that the investor gets to choose the ultimate influence on their portfolio or how uninfluenced it is, you know, by the holdings that it has. But the investor does not get to choose the result of anything, just the influences. I am influencing this portfolio to only go up in a straight line since these IRA matches are counting as return for some reason, and it's terrible and shitty. But hey, what are you gonna do? You play the game as it's given to you, and I think this is incredibly fun to be the world's best trader for a short amount of time. But yes, as the price is supposed to be dipping and doing a random walk, I'm chucking money in there just to make it go up. It's only 5 more days until I get that scheduled phone call over to make the rollover possible. So probably within the month, the actual demonstration and beginning of the flywheel will start. But it is growing, and that's fun. But I just wanted to point out that your portfolio is more like if you're looking at the different DNA that your portfolio is made of, as when you look at your holdings, you can acknowledge that your portfolio is greater than the sum of its parts. And it has become something else in its entirety. It doesn't have to. You could one-to-one mirror your portfolio against an ETF, and um, they would move synchronously together. But most people don't do that. So I have chosen to, I guess, to continue the DNA analogy, I have chosen this variety of leading strands, which are made slowly day by day in summation, and my lagging strand of my portfolio, which is being continuously generated day by day as a completed picture of the leading strands. Um, does it make sense to attribute any sort of life or real characterization to dollars? No, absolutely not. But it is an analogy that works. So I'll go ahead and stick with that one for the time being. But I can already see it moving forward. What the game plan is. It's so close to the date that it'll eventually just sneak right up on the channel. But uh, these September 20th calls are, or these September 20th puts are definitely going to be what uh, the initial roll happens on, the initial sell. And if I have anything to say about it, it will likely be something with a greater than, well, I'll try to keep it as close to 49 as I can, but if it's just a moment over a 50 delta, then I'll be all right with it. So ideally, the ETF price would push up to around 60, 66 and 2/3, and that would give this a delta of 0.5, and I would sell this $67 put to start the flywheel, and that would pull in $140 of premium initially. But given that everything goes well, that will be bought back, and I will not capture the entire premium over the lifetime of the option. That not being the case, and I do assume the control of the shares and a $140 deposit, I won't be mad. I mean, it's shares of the S&P 500. How terrible could it really be? I'm not assuming control of uh, awful, terrible, no good, very bad, uh, you know, shares. But it all depends on the day, and I will, of course, record the first sale. I mean, if it's something as simple as this disparity between um, this implied volatility being so high, there's a volume of 3 on those, whereas the volume on this is 1, and there's a larger open interest on this, I could probably get a better fill on this here, and then as the implied volatility dried up here, eh, it would it would more rapidly decay the value of this option. So although it's a lower premium initially, once the IV dries up, it'll be a quicker capture of the available premium rather than a greater total capture of all premium. So it would be a quicker return on money at a safer measure.
We fucking.
Well,
What's up? Fucking. We fucking. Oh, pretty good. How's it going?
okay. I love Wisemac. That just pops into there. Good old Wizzy. But the quicker capture of the premium here would be ideal, and I would be in a market with other participants, and it would increase the likelihood and efficiency of a fill. Of course, I'm staring at after hours things, so it's so easy to look at something like this and say, well, it's very concrete because, when in reality, these numbers are much more lively and active whenever the whenever everyone's on the game, when everyone gets on the game, the numbers are much more lively and active. So it will be a split moment decision about the initial sell, as it will be all of the rest of them. But it will not be something that weighs on my mind too dramatically about the, how do you say, realized result of said decision. It's a long term plan, and it will be okay if something doesn't go perfectly right off the jump. And I shouldn't have to say it, but in the way that the market mechanics work, right? If I sell, if this races up to 66 and 2/3, and I sell this for $1, I could probably get a fill at $1.17 for this at given price, given delta and gamma currently, blah 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 blah, assuming implied volatility stays the same. All that, right? So if I get filled at $1.17 and then the stock races up very quickly, and the stock being the ETF that is the S&P 500, if it races up quickly, I will have assumed a paper loss, as the money would have better been invested, but that was covered in the brief thesis moving forward, but I just restated it for the ability to say that I did, and yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. The main focus was on the first part of this video, but the second part of the video was, for me specifically, to talk more about my plans in the coming rest of the month that I am so excited for. Thanks for listening to me babble for like 13 minutes.